Here we go. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Shoot the Defense on No Choftes. I'm Stel. I've got two regular guests, the returning Sagi, Burton, and Steve Eyre. And our special guest right down here is a gentleman that's played for quite a few big clubs, boys and girls. And as I keep saying on this podcast, we do things a lot different and we bring in the elites. So this gentleman right here has played for Bradford City, Man City, Leeds United, Peterborough United, MK Dons, Huddersfield, Middlesbrough, Birmingham City, and Doncaster, if I'm not mistaken. Adam Clayton, welcome to the pod, mate. How you doing? He's frozen.
Yeah, very good.
I think you missed out Leeds. I think you missed out Leeds United there as well.
That's a swear word. That's a swear word.
You got me.
Yeah, mate. You good? Oh, teething problems.
I'm back.
There you go. There you go. We're giving us a tour of your yard. Lovely.
He's gone into the West Wing.
Right.
How you doing, Adam? You good, mate?
Right. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me come on. I'm looking forward to it. Have a good chat about the old soccer. Yeah, let's go.
Lovely, lovely. Well, Steve, do you want to give our listeners a bit of background on Adam because you know him better than us?
Yeah, I've known Adam since he was 8, as a Manchester City young boy, one of hundreds, and then the players get less and less and less, and eventually you get signed by the club, and you hopefully progress through the system, which he did. I don't think he would mind me saying he was good between 8 to 14, but not certain to be a footballer. But from 14 to 18, he really started to progress with good teammates, but was a real talent, a really good passer of the ball, could cross for Micah Richards and Ched Evans in particular to score lots of goals with the head. And then eventually he positioned himself, or we positioned him as a centre midfield player. And he had impatient ambition. He possibly, having had a substitute appearance for Manchester City in the first team, could have waited for another opportunity, but he had impatient ambition, and he had an opportunity to go to Leeds United, which obviously is a huge club where he could get his career going and get his name known. But I think probably best time of his career was, I think, 7 years at Middlesbrough. There was Huddersfield after Leeds, I should say, where I was working with him at that time too. But I think 7 years or so at Middlesbrough, as they were getting better, he was absolutely brilliant with Grant Ledbetter in the centre of midfield, and I think will go down as one of their best players, I think, in the last 20 years, if you ask a Middlesbrough fan. And then, as now via Birmingham City, has been at Doncaster Rovers, and I think now, probably the older you get, the harder you train. He's probably as fit as he's ever been, and he's ready for his next challenge for next season, which he at the moment he's not attached. I could speak all day, but I don't think I've missed too much.
Has he missed anything, Adam?
Probably only got one thing right. One of the best players in 20 years.
Come on. Let's go. No. Come on. Love it.
It's like weird hearing Steve talk like about me. He's normally to me. We've obviously known each other a long time, so it's nice to hear them words. And yeah, he's spot on with the info given.
Adam, I always praise Steve to everyone that asks me questions about him, and he is one of, if not the most genuine people out there that I know anyway. And how can you describe Steve as a coach and as a person? I'm sorry to do this to you, Steve. This is your life. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Just as a man of detail, he sees the things that only experienced eyes see, and he sees them within milliseconds. Really, you think you've got something that he's not noticed, and you throw it into him on the text, and he's already wrote his reply out. It's ready to come back. So yeah, he knows the game. It's all he does. He loves it. It's his passion, and yeah, it comes out on the training field. It's all he cares about. All he takes it home. He just thinks how can he make someone a better player and person. I've found in the latter stages of knowing him now. Obviously, as a man's coach, obviously I knew him beforehand, but he cares about the person as well, which is, I think, a really good trait to have these days.
That'll do, Stel.
Perfect. There you go.
Leave it there.
Well, brilliant. Well, I hope to see all three of you back in football very, very soon. It's nice to see good people in the game, in a sport which has become more and more, I'm just going to say it, corrupt. But I'm not going to go into anything else because I'm basing it off Cypriot football, and that's my bread and butter. But anyway, let's talk Premier League. Let's talk transfers. And Sag, your team, Arsenal, the team that you support, have signed Kai Havertz. It was leaked before it was officially announced. We spoke about him briefly last week. Are you thrilled, or are you a little bit on the fence with this one?
Not really too much on the fence. As I stated before last week, I think Arteta has done a good job with transfers. If you look at the transfers, over 20 million or so, I think there's only one questionable one at the moment, and that's Vieira. But he's only had one season. He's quite young. So he's brought in some good experience with Havertz and hopefully Rice and Timber. So, I mean, with the transfers, I definitely trust what he's bringing in for sure.
Adam, I want to ask you this about Kai Havertz. At Chelsea, he had, to use Steve's words, hit, miss, or maybe. Sorry, Steve, I had to borrow that from you. I use that quite a bit, to be honest now. But to be fair, he scored a goal in the Champions League final. He scored a goal in the World Club Championships. We know how well he did at Leverkusen. He's done well for the German national team. But then you look at the amount of head coaches Chelsea have had in his time there. Does it surprise you that he hasn't been the signing that Chelsea wanted him to be, given the amount of coaches that have been there?
Yeah, I think he's one of them. He's one of them players for me where you look at me, you think he's got the lot. He can do most things. There's not something you wouldn't say he could do. Maybe he could be better in the air, but he frustrates me at times. You think he's probably got that 5 or 10% more in him, in his game, that more goals, more assists. For me, Arteta, would I have took him? Probably, maybe not. But do I think he'll do well? Yeah, at the same time, because he's obviously a very technically gifted player, and he's going to go into a team that full of confidence, great way of playing, great style, and are on the up. So he could turn out to be a really, really good player in their side and the way they want to do things. But looking at his performances, would I have gone and got him? I'm not sure, but he has got the ability to go and do it. So could be a masterstroke, could be a sold back to Germany in 2-3 years.
Absolutely. And Steve, I don't want to talk about Declan Rice just yet, but if you look at Arsenal's midfield at the moment, there's still a chance that Xhaka is going to leave. So let's say Xhaka does leave. Where does Havertz fit in the Arsenal lineup? Because you're going to see Partey there for sure. You're going to see Odegaard. So it's either going to be Havertz, Vieira, or I guess Lokonga as possibly the third option. Where would he fit in a playing system, do you think?
I think, like so many, with an eye for goal, I think you'd have to say as a number 10 behind Gabriel Jesus, really. And if Martinelli was on the left and Saka was on the right, and that was your front four, then they're going to have a good season again, you would think. But he can play off both sides of the pitch. He can play both sides of centre midfield. And obviously, he can just about play as a centre forward. Well, I say that. He's scored in a Champions League final doing it. He's played for his country doing it. So he can play as a centre forward. I think with the amount of games that they play, I don't see him playing the amount of games that Saka plays last year and will play next, where he's a stick on to be on the team sheet. But he'll be a big player for them, and it might be Stel that I know Adam, likes to get settled, but equally you'll play anywhere for the team. It might be that he knocks in 35, 40 games in about 3 different positions. So still a lot to answer for me. But I think if he could pick himself in the team, I think he would be behind a striker.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense in terms of how he's played or how he's been deployed in the past. Now, let's turn our attention over to Declan Rice. We know the deal isn't done yet, but we're hearing all sorts of stories about a new offer, Man City putting an offer, and apparently, according to some journalists, they said that maybe City were asked to put in an offer. Anyway, that's by the by. Sag, obviously, signing Declan Rice would be a big statement of intent for Arsenal. I think that he has the natural born leadership DNA, so to speak, as we keep hearing. But at the same time, is this a player that you think can cope with the price tag if it were to happen?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I watched a few programs of him. I watched the overlap program with Gary Neville, and he seems very level-headed, very intelligent person, boy, man, whatever you want to call him. And he seems very down to earth, and I'm not sure that'll get to him. I think he just likes getting out on the pitch and giving 100%. And as I stated before, I think that's definitely something that Arsenal's missed in previous years, and Arteta's certainly bringing back to the club where all players give 100%, and that's the minimum that you give.
Oh, absolutely. And Steve Rice isn't. I don't see him as like a holding midfielder, like the Makelele role. I don't see him as that kind of player. I'm just assuming that Partey again is going to be that guy to be the guy to break up play. So again, you've got Havertz. You may have Rice there. Odegaard. Are we talking about a midfield diamond 4? Or it's quite interesting, to be fair, man. I never really thought about it until now.
No, I'm prepared to commit early that I think he's the nearest thing in potential to the John Stones position that you could find. Trent Alexander-Arnold's doing it from right back into midfield. Pep Guardiola has revolutionised tactics by doing so, but let's not forget he tried to do it with Zabaleta, he tried to do it with Walker first. Arsenal already have Zinchenko going into midfield. I'm convinced that Declan Rice will end up as a defender. And if it's a defender these days that goes into midfield, he's absolutely perfect for the role. I think he really, really struggles getting the ball from left to right, right to left, swinging the play side to side. I don't think he can move his hips and his feet quick enough. I don't think that he passes through balls through for strikers to score. I think he's a defender playing in midfield. I think he's good, but I think he's a defender playing in midfield. And I think eventually he'll be exactly that in position. He's having all those games for West Ham with the defensive mindset, and I think you can go to Arsenal and be a defender and yet still step in to do the team's half. They're so-called crying out for a defender. They might have one ready to sign right under the nose.
And Adam, I don't think £100 million sounds really stupid, but it doesn't sound like a huge sum of money given the current climate, if you think about it. Given that the lad is 24 years old, if he signs a 6-year deal, I'm not great at maths, so it's 15 million a year, something along those lines, if you want to break it down that way. So if you think about it, it's not bad, given that he's an England international, right?
Oh, for me, especially in climate, for the big boy, it's a snip, not out of the norm. And again, like Steve, so you're probably buying 2-3 good players there in different positions. So yeah, I think that's a really good buy. I think Pep and Arteta have done well in terms of City going in for a bid to get it over the line for him. I don't think City really wanted him, but I think he helped his mate get it over the line. But no, really good player. A player I watch really closely because he's sort of been playing in my position, defensive midfield, and he's got the legs to get around the pitch really well. He's got good passing range. Like I say, he's not great at probably getting the ball off fullbacks and getting it across the other way, but he can drive with the ball, and that's a real good skill for a defensive midfielder, is to be able to drive with that ball when you're under pressure. It gives you so many more options. Yeah, I can see him being a real top player for many years.
For sure, I agree. And Serge, what about the right back situation? Because apparently Timber is another signing potentially for Arsenal. Would that be the last one for the summer, you reckon, if he comes in?
I'm not too sure. You never know with Arsenal at the moment. I mean, there's a few rumours about another midfielder coming in, and I think what they're desperately missing is someone to replace Saka to give him a rest, because I think as I said last week, I think the last 5 games of the season is non-existent. So I definitely think they need a cover for the left-sided forward. But you never know. Arsenal kind of pull things out last minute. If you look at the Vieira, when they signed Vieira, totally unexpected, and that wasn't even in the papers or rumoured to be, coming to Arsenal. So and it's very early on as well. Remember, like they've just gone back to pre-season now, if that. So, you've still got till the end of August, if I'm correct, or is it beginning of the season now? Have they changed it?
Probably end of August anyway, there or thereabouts. We're surprised.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
surprised. But so Arsenal have clearly reinforced, and it looks like they're going to reinforce even more, which they would hope will push them closer to challenging City next season. But obviously, looking over their shoulder, there's a team from Merseyside that have spent quite a bit of money on Szoboszlai, the Hungarian attacking midfielder, who I like. I think he's very good, especially from dead ball situations. He seems like a baller. But the question is to everyone, and whoever wants to jump in first, feel free to do so. Signing another midfielder for Liverpool means they now have McAllister, Szoboszlai, Fabinho, and Harvey Elliott. Oh, and Thiago Alcantara, and also who else have they got there? Henderson. So there's big talent there. Don't get me wrong. So does this mean that Klopp is still going to keep Trent at right back, because we saw him play central midfield, or does he kind of like start as right back and then move into the central midfield? Or what do you guys reckon?
Exactly that, what you've just said there. Exactly that. He's done it so well, and then done it for England, albeit against weak opposition. Yeah, and Liverpool's season had absolutely halted, sat still until that tactical move. Whether he stole it off Guardiola or not, the best comedians steal the best jokes, so they say, around the circuit, and the best coaches have got to do the same. So they've got their own style and ideas, but why wouldn't you steal off the best? And in putting Alexander-Arnold from a right back into centre midfield with that range of passing that he's got, and that last pass that he's got as a cross, and that shot from the edge of the box, it basically jump-started Liverpool's season. They'll definitely go that way, I'm certain.
Yeah, they have to. He's too good. He's too good at the position. His assist from right back, extraordinary, and you're moving that 20 yards further up the pitch. So it's just going to create more for the players they've got up there, and yeah, he has to play midfield.
For me, Stel, whoever gets picked next season, left wing for Liverpool, will have a fantastic season. Whoever is chosen there will have an amazing season, because they'll win lots of games, they'll have lots of possession, they'll have lots of attacking play, and Alexander-Arnold will switch the play with a diagonal pass, right foot to left wing, and bring the left winger into the game at any moment. Whoever gets picked left wing for Liverpool next year will be brilliant.
Well, that's a very, very good point, Steve, because when you think about it, I know Darwin Núñez was deployed as effectively the left-sided striker. So perhaps Klopp in his head thought next season, let's try out for now, because let's try out till, let's see if we get top four. If not, then at least we've got a rough idea of how we're going to play next season, and perhaps signing an additional midfielder to give Trent license to move into that central midfield spot to do exactly as you said, to play the balls into the wide areas. And look, Darwin Núñez, people criticize him. I think he obviously needed time to get used to the Premier League. Getting sent off on his debut, or his home debut, wasn't great, but he's fantastic in the air. And I think these days a lot of defenders aren't good with the physicality. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and as long as he keeps, passing the ball side foot to Mo Salah, because you don't want to keep pinging it across the pitch and not letting the best player who's just 10 yards away from you, one of the best players in the world, not have enough ball. But if he can do a 50-50 split of bringing both wingers into the game for Liverpool, they'll be brilliant again next season.
For sure. And Saj, we saw last season at the beginning, Salah started off pretty slow, and then coming at the tail end of the season, he was firing on all cylinders. Now, with these signings, are you confident to see the best Mo Salah back again?
Yeah, I mean, 30 goals. What did he get? 30 goals last season? I mean, that's still an amazing feat. I think, yeah. Well, I think they had injuries at the beginning as well, didn't they? So I think that troubled them throughout the season, and then they didn't get consistency in their team and in the team lineup. So I think they will come strong next season, but. I'm pretty sure they'll get a Champions League place, but I'm not sure if they'll be challenging right up there. Not too sure.
Okay, fair enough. Adam, Maddison joined Spurs. He got his move. I'm surprised he went there, to be honest. Not because Tottenham are a bad club. I'm not saying that, but I'm just surprised that no one else went in for him, because he clearly is a quality player. But I tell you what, it's a steal, isn't it? 40-odd million.
Oh yeah, you'd take him all day as one of the top 4, top 5. I'm surprised United didn't try A little bit harder to get him in. I think he's a player with unbelievable quality. You get the set pieces, his assists in and around the box, and I think he's got the personality to take the big stage quite well. I think he's that way inclined. Really, really confident. Met him a couple of times. He seems really like he could take that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm surprised United didn't show a bit more interest. Even in Arsenal to an extent, you could compare him with sort of the number 10 role, Kai Havertz or James or Maddison. So yeah, it's still obviously a great move. Tottenham, massive club, to be new manager. If they keep Harry Kane, they'll be looking to do big things. So brilliant move for him. And I expect him to probably go and push his numbers up towards the 10 goals, 10 assists target would be where I'm at for him, really, going into a top 5 team.
And especially if Harry Kane stays.
Yeah, of course. If he does stay, and like I said, they played a few games together with England now, so they'll be looking to try and crack on. And like I say, I think his numbers are the only thing that stopped him going from the sort of where he's at to the big boys. So if he goes and gets the 10 assists, 10 goals plus, then he's a top player.
Steve, does this kind of signing make Harry Kane consider staying? Because obviously, I'm not in Harry Kane's head, so I'm not saying whether he wants to go or not, but chances are there's going to be interest from other clubs. So if Postecoglou sat him down and said, right, I've got a project, I've got an idea to bring in more players, I want to keep you for at least one more year because he's got a contract till the end of next season, I believe. So would signing someone like Maddison make Harry Kane think, well, do you know what? We're turning a corner now. We're turning a corner.
It would, Stel, but you know, if I just push this a bit of devil's advocate tactically in terms of what is Maddison's best position, his best game for England was left wing, right foot at Wembley. He played in, I don't like the word, but he played in a pocket on the left-hand side, and he was coming in and he was rolling in towards the number 10 position. He can play left and right, and I think that would suit Harry Kane. But if he played number 10, now obviously that would mean he's behind Harry Kane. It would absolutely revamp Harry Kane's career, maybe for the best, but also maybe for the worst. Now, he could then be an out-and-out centre-forward and just hang around in the box. But what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years is Harry Kane dropping into the number 10 position, dropping into his own half. Now, he won't be able to do that if somebody like Maddison is there and they're in each other's way and in each other's space. So, depends where he plays him. I don't think he'll play number 10 because Harry Kane has still managed to get 30-odd goals, still managed to be amazing, and so-called now he does just as much running back as forwards. I don't think that will change because I think Harry Kane enjoys the role. So I think Maddison will play on the right wing, on the left wing, and occasionally drift into the middle of the pitch. And I think Kane will carry on being the same player at the same club and being a brilliant player. But I'm not as certain as everybody else when they say that Maddison will be the creative number 10. I think he'll play on the wing.
Fair enough. And Sag, given what Steve just said about Maddison playing on the flanks, with Spurs losing Lucas Moura, who's left the club after a few years, do you think he will settle into a winger's position? Especially because, look, you got Son on the left-hand side predominantly, don't you? So I think it'd be difficult to dislodge him.
No, I think Steve's right. I think they lack creativity in the central midfield or in the central areas behind Harry Kane, and I think he's a perfect person to go into that kind of area for them. Although I think he's a very Spursy player, he'll do well when they're doing really well, but then he'll just go missing when. Me personally, I think he'll go missing when the times are hard. So
You're shots already. These Arsenal fans,
I know,
man.
mate.
A couple signings and they're getting Larry.
Wow. No, he's a very Spursy player. That's what I'd say. But I think he'll do well there. He's kind of got the personality to play for that kind of club.
The thing is, you never hear about him getting into any trouble or anything like that. His disciplinary record is fantastic. His goals to games ratio is brilliant. You know, especially no disrespect to Leicester City, who were really struggling last season. You know, he was undoubtedly their best player. So I think this is a very good step up for him. And I think Spurs fans should be very, very excited, no doubt. But I want to turn our attentions to Man United at the moment. I really wanted, to be honest. But Mason Mount is linked with the club. which is okay, fair enough. It is what it is. And then today they're linked with Alasami, the central midfielder from Fiorentina. He's a Moroccan international, did very well at the World Cup, holding midfielder. Kind of like, okay, I don't want to compare him, but similar role to Jude Bellingham, not a similar player, because clearly there's levels here, but a similar kind of player. Gents, is this a kind of signing that Man United need to challenge for the title? Because no disrespect to Alisson, I'm sure he's a good player, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but if you want to be competing with Man City, there are levels, right?
Yeah, for me, you don't touch the current team. I think he did have a really good World Cup, but I think he did that on adrenaline. Being in a World Cup for his country, I thought he was brilliant. Probably one of the players of the tournament, but I have seen him a couple of times, and he's, like you say, these levels. He's not a signing that's going to take you back to the top of the league for me. The Mason Mount, I think, is a good signing. Playing against him when he played for Derby, and I was probably in my prime then, probably 26, 27. He must have been 18, 19, and after 10, 15 minutes, I'm thinking, who's this kid? He was really, really good in Frank Lampard's Derby team. Him and his mate that's at Bournemouth now, Wilson, Fulham. He's at Fulham now. Yeah. Really good player. I think he lost his way a little bit in terms of confidence, but Chelsea have in general. So I think he'll be a good, energetic, busy. He won't do anything wrong for you. He won't let you down. And he'll come up with some good stuff if you put the right people around him after signing.
Steve, I haven't had the chance to check Mason Mount's appearance stats from last season, but from what I remember, he didn't really feature much at the back end of the season, if I'm not mistaken, that is. So is this a gamble from United, or is this just like a second chance for Mason Mount to play at the highest level? Or can't hear you? Try again.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, there you go.
It's not a gamble. It was only 12 months ago that he was getting picked by his national team. He was getting picked by all his managers. Chelsea's managers kept changing. Everybody said they loved him. He's a great player. I believe he was having a medical this afternoon. So that seems really, really close. He shoots from the edge of the box. He runs into the penalty area. And I don't think Manchester United are making these signings to challenge Manchester City for the title. They've got to try and hold Liverpool off, and they've got to try and hold Chelsea off, and they've got to try and get past Arsenal before they even think about competing against Manchester City. So I certainly don't think it's a signing that can challenge, but it's a signing that can improve them. No disrespect to these players, but McTominay, Fred, 14 yellow cards of Casemiro and 2 reds. Eriksen looked really slow in the cup final. He's only going to get slower. So I think it's a really, really good signing which can help United in that mini league, which doesn't include Manchester City because they sit at the top of it, way above anything else that's around them. So it's about competing against Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal, and it's a good signing in my opinion, yeah.
Oh, see, there you go. See, even I'm making mistakes. I'm like, Christ. So where does Mason Mount fit in United's system? Because as far as I remember, again at Chelsea, kind of played as the like a left-sided number 10, I guess. You got the number 10 and not like a left winger, but in between I can't even explain it. Like a support striker, if we're going Pro Evolution Soccer back days, you know what I mean? But there you go. See, speaking my language. Yeah, where does he play? Does he play on the right-hand side? Because obviously Rashford is going to make that left-hand side his own, and I'm assuming United are going to go for a striker. So,
being me personally, I think he takes over that Eriksen role. To be fair, running in, but more of a runner into the box. I think he's a great signing. I think he's a great player. As Steve said, last year he got into every team. I think Chelsea just had poor management last season, and a terrible turnover of players. And I think Man United will eventually get a bargain for sure. I think he'll turn out to be a great player there.
I think it also gives United options when it comes to dead ball situations, because obviously Bruno Fernandes is the main guy to take corners and penalties, but I think Mason Mount is fully capable to do that. And on top of that, like you quite rightly said, in terms of his range of passing is fantastic, but he also likes to drift inside from wide areas. So again, it's that element of surprise, and he shoots from range, which I didn't see United do much of last season, in all fairness. I didn't see much of that.
Yeah, there's not many teams that shoot from range now, but he's obviously one of the few players that are capable of scoring from a long range. So that's another tool in his box for sure.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Tonali has joined Newcastle United. Now that came left field, I guess. I know there was a few murmurs about it, but for him to leave AC Milan and join Newcastle United, I don't think he's a player that won't surprise people next season. I like him. I've liked him for a long time. Very good player. I'm sure Milan fans are bemoaning the fact that he's left them to join a club like Newcastle, but obviously, the Premier League is the big league at the moment, and there are players leaving various countries to come out here. Adam, what do you think of this signing? What do you think he will do for Newcastle next season?
Oh, this is my boy, this Sandro Tonali's a football manager god. I've signed him many times. He's took me to Champions League glory, so I can't say a bad word about him. No, he's very technical player. Passing range, really good. You could, obviously he's not there yet, but you could go in the sort of the Pirlo type sitting midfielder with a long passing range, can get out of tight situations. I've not watched him many times, but when I have watched him, he can handle the ball lovely, and he can get you from the edge of your box to the edge of theirs with a pass. I wouldn't say he's a runner. I wouldn't say he's got that Declan Rice turn of foot where he can sort of glide up the field, but he can beat a man in it, a top pass, and defensively, his positioning. It's Italian, they know how to defend. He knows the right places to be. So I think a very astute signing, obviously a costly signing. Something not in his peak years yet. So a little bit of a gamble on that side of things, but I think obviously Eddie Howe has done his homework, and I think he'll fit quite nicely in there. Yeah.
And I think the other thing with Tonali is that he forged a really good relationship with Rafael Leao in terms of the assists. And Leao is a physical striker that's very quick, very intelligent, runs off the ball. And you see that with Isaac, another player who perhaps doesn't have the physicality that Leao does, but the pace, the skill, the dribbling ability, he's got that. So I think Tonali will fit in perfectly, especially if he's got Guimaraes or Jolinton beside him. I mean, for crying out loud, that is a unit of a midfield, isn't it?
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, I mean Jolinton, he's gone from a striker that hit the wall to a centre midfield powerhouse of like one of the top players in the division. And not even an attacking midfielder, like you said, a Declan Rice who can get the ball and drive sort of style and bully people and be aggressive, and you can really trust him with the ball. When I've been watching, he gets out of tight spots, he holds the ball off, he uses his body. He's been unbelievable.
And the thing is, Adam, you've played, if I'm not mistaken, you played alongside Kieran Trippier at Man City, and Steve, you coached Kieran Trippier. He was undoubtedly one of their standout players last season. He was fantastic for FPL as well. For me, I was brilliant, no problem. I didn't take him out once. But in terms of having a player like Tonali there, surely it must fill Trippier with more confidence, knowing that he can make those runs down the flank and he'll be picked out almost every time.
Well, yeah, they can share the spray can almost because they can probably land the ball on a dime from anywhere. And just as you and Adam were talking there, I was just thinking about all the Newcastle players that want to run forward, and run towards the other team's goal. For those lads, if they were playing with players who just stand still or come towards the ball, then you wouldn't see their passing range as much. But they've got legs. Kieran always plays well with a left footer in front of him. It used to be Ross Wallace at Burnley. There's been others, but now obviously it's Almiron. Callum Wilson is so fast. Isaac, like you said, So anybody with a good range of passing, Adam will definitely be able to endorse this, because he, has that same ability at the lower league. But pass a few to feet, but always willing to put the ball in behind. If you've got people that want to run, I think Trippier and the new signing from AC Milan will be just heaven sent for Newcastle, because they've got so much pace and legs.
Sag, obviously Newcastle have got the cash to spend. Obviously, they want to better next season, because obviously they've raised the bar for themselves. Do you think the level of expectancy has gone even higher now as a result of them making signings such as Tonali?
I'm not really too sure. I mean, they are a massive club, aren't they? I believe that they'll get Champions League again, and I believe the fans will be happy with that. And then they can kick on again and progress and get bigger and better signings from here on out, basically, from season on season. But in terms of Tonali, I mean, I've not seen much of him, but if you kind of look at most Italian players, technically and tactically, they're very intelligent. So I think he'll do well. May struggle with the physicality, but I'm sure after 10 games in, he'll probably get used to it and probably make a real impression for Newcastle.
Fantastic. And gents, Bournemouth have made a couple of signings, one of them being Justin Kluivert. That's a name, isn't it? Patrick Kluivert's boy. I know that he had a bit of a torrid time at Roma, and Ajax he did okay. But this is the Premier League, boys. This is the Premier League. This is the big boys league. Do you think he'll be able to cope?
Not seen enough of him to say, but I obviously, regardless, I know they had that great April with Gary O'Neill that got them clear. It's not kept him in the job. I'm not too sure. I got the little bit that I know of him. I expect Bournemouth to be in the bottom 5. I'm not going to say straight away they'll get relegated, but I expect them to be in the bottom 5. So if you're in the bottom 5 of any division, how well are you actually going to do? So I've obviously got my doubts about that one. He's a talented boy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in terms of Bournemouth, they've gone totally down a different route, haven't they? With I believe he's from Real Vallecano, the coach. So it's either going to go one way or the other. Like, they're going to do quite well, or they're just going to hit rock bottom. So he's bringing in untested players or whatever. So I'm not too sure how Bournemouth are going to do, but we just have to again just 10 games in and see how they're doing. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know too much about them, but they did really well, and I was very, very surprised that Gary O'Neill got the sack at the end of the season. But owners are now, they're just ruthless, aren't they?
Oh, for sure. Adam, I guess it's a good thing that Bournemouth are doing their business early, because if you look at the likes of Sheffield United, Everton, Luton Town, a lot of clubs haven't really started doing anything. I know it's still early in the window, but you'd think that they want to start preparing for pre-season early. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can go both ways. Are they rushing it, or are they getting the targets that they want? So it's one of them. Only they know. For me, getting your business done early, if it's the target you want, it's not rushed. It's the new manager's done his due diligence, and everything's in place to go people. Yeah, by all means, go and get your signings done. Get them in the building. Get them training. The other sides, they could be looking at it in terms of, we're not going to rush. We need to get this right. Blah blah blah. It's both sides of the coin. Only they will know. Only they know. I think he player does the occasional bit of brilliance, but again, like Steve says, they're going to be bottom 5. You don't have the ball as much when you're in the bottom 5. You don't get as many opportunities to show how good you are on the ball as an attacking player. I remember when we played in the league, our sort of standout player was Gaston Ramirez. Very talented, could do most things with football, but probably only got 4 or 5 attempts at it a game, whereas the boys in the top 5 are getting 10 attempts to do it. So it's a tough one. I can't see him being sort of player that's going to be 36 games. and really stamping his authority on the Premier League.
Okay, fair enough. Well, one more thing before we wrap it up. I don't want to talk about Chelsea just yet because I don't think they've finished their spending or their sales. I think they've got rid of about 10 players, which is incredible. 10 players already this summer. And most of them have been actually cash sales. But I want to quickly talk about Burnley, believe it or not. And, they made a few signings. Obafemi's joined them and a couple other players. Obviously, the season hasn't started yet, and we don't know what to expect from them. But can you envisage Company playing the same style as he did in the Championship? Because let's get it right, they played some phenomenal football in the Championship, but translating that to the Premier League, which is a highly competitive league, and on top of that, the demands in terms of the quality, everything. Do you think Company is going to adjust everything, or is he just going to say, you know what, we're favourites to go down, let's just go down in a blaze of fire, so to speak?
No, I don't. I think he will try and do a little bit of it, but let's not forget what his stock and trade was as a player. He was defend first because of the level that he was playing at. He was the captain, leader, centre half of Manchester City. He came from Hamburg as a centre midfield player, a defensive centre midfield player, but he's in at the top level, playing in all those top games, and obviously they got better and bigger and more serious throughout his seasons. For him to become a Manchester City legend, I think he revolutionised the Championship last year. I don't think there's been a team play like it. Adam has been in it, but I don't think he's been promoted out of it. But I don't think we've ever seen a team do it like how Burnley did it. But we've also saw them playing that way against Manchester City in the Cup and what can happen, albeit against the best team in the world. I think he's going to have to adapt. I think he's going to have to be a little bit more pessimistic, a little bit more resolute, and he's going to have to play not as wide open, because those open spaces he made for his team last year, if he makes those open spaces again, the other teams have got better players and they'll win the game through those gaps.
Saj, I don't think Company's going to deploy a system similar to Sean Dyche. Obviously, he's going to want to play some expansive football. But do you agree with Steve in that respect?
Yeah, totally. I mean, as a coach, you don't really want to detour too much off your philosophy. So you'll be a bit more pessimistic, and when you're going into the Premier League, so he might be a bit more defensive. But I think on the whole, he'll probably stick with a lot of the same tactics and kind of playing style that got him to where he is now. If you start changing it, that's when I believe things start going, haywire and a bit tits up.
Adam, as someone that's played in the Championship yourself, mate, how can you describe that league in terms of the ability, physicality, and everything that encapsulates the Championship to our viewers?
It's chaos is the only word to describe it, because it's 100 miles an hour with top players. So I think playing in the Premier League, there's more of not that there's not tactical sort of stuff going on in the Championship, but there is definitely more of a wait to see when we're going to press, a wait to see we're going to go them down that side. I think in the Championship, it's just full throttle. If a team's pressing you, they're pressing you. There's no sort of right, we're going to let him have it over. It's more just in your face, and sort of the best team wins in the end. But some real good quality. So you find yourself in 1v1s a lot, and the physical aspect. I think that's the thing that's gone through the roof in the last 6 or 7 championships. It's not far off the Premier League anymore. In terms of that 1v1 physicality, the wingers, the fullbacks, the lads are just getting fitter and stronger every year. So,
Adam, what was it like playing with Traore?
Oh, the biggest specimen you've ever seen. You're the fastest man on the planet. Honestly, he goes from zero to he goes from 0 to his max speed in 3 strides. That's the difference between him and, say, other fast players. I've seen him do things to Bellerin that I couldn't even do to my daughter, and she's 3. The speed he went past him. He trains so hard. He does so much pre-activation and quad, glute, calf, groin work every day. He's got a personal trainer that flies over every week. goes home for the weekends, come back, so he doesn't get injured with it. I mean, if you do look at his injury record for hamstring pulls of a player with that explosiveness, unbelievable. He'd come in after training and do 200 press-ups off the bat, just take his top off, 200 press-ups, and we'd all be sat there thinking, anyone got a cig? he's doing 200. Like,
I only thought Stel did that.
Oh, mental.
Come on, I haven't been to the gym for a few days. I'm going after this, to be honest.
Yeah, we had a player in the same team, I won't say who it is, who come in, like, lit up a cigarette and took an hairdryer in the toilets.
Superb.
Next cubicle. So yeah, no, that was. He's a real. I don't think I'll see anyone like him for a while.
Okay.
They put baby oil on his arm so that when he's running, no one can grab him.
Yeah, that was my for every game. Really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Well, gents, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this podcast again. It's been fantastic. Thank you for all the viewers, everyone watching live. We'll be back at the same time next week. Again, thank you, gentlemen, for jumping on board. I'm going to put all the social media stuff for Adam and Sagi in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll be back in 7 days, I guess, unless anything major happens, which you never know.